session today. So I had a session today and kind of had to come up with something on the fly based on my experience. And this couple has opened their relationship. And while they did do some front loading around it, it's all going so beautifully and so smoothly that I was like, okay, what protocol do we have in place for if something looks different, feels different, there's a rupture, anything like that? And they looked at me like deer in headlights. And so just sort of on the fly, I came up with a few categories of things to look into, to make agreements around. And yeah, I'll read them out to you now. And maybe we can pick one of those to get into. Aftercare with each other, aftercare with their paramours, whether or not and how they support each other if there is a rupture with a paramour, jealousy, and really trying to not be reactive with jealousy so that their partner has to do something actionable, and then paying attention to their own sex life. So those were like the 5 tenets we came up with, but again, it was on the fly, so I feel like there could be more, but also those were all interesting to me.
Can you share just a little bit about aftercare with each other? Kind of give some context. Is that like after a rupture or
No, just after an
Just
overnight,
after hanging
after a
out?
date, after anything,
Or
just
anything?
after a connection with
Gotcha.
someone else. And we talked about how I mean, any 5 of those I could go pretty.
Okay.
I was actually thinking to go into aftercare because I think aftercare itself is not a new term, but a newer term for a lot of people to really kind of hear it in that way. To like, what is after? Because I have been asked on several different occasions, what is aftercare? I've never heard of aftercare, and I think that's a great one, especially, and that works across the board for any dynamic in any relationship, So I think that would be a good one. I don't know what you guys think. So
Yeah, I think
I'm down for all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for it. Let's do it. Yeah, aftercare. I mean, you said newer term. I know, like it's not necessarily a newer term in like the kink and BDSM communities, but surprisingly, yes, in like the swing communities, or it's not also a newer term in polyamorous, but in the swing communities, it is. So, and anyone, I guess, who doesn't fit particularly in the swing or polyamorous communities also.
I think it's a newer term in monogamous relationships as well.
Yeah,
sure,
because
for sure.
aftercare can be a weekend with the in-laws. Aftercare can be driving home after a party. Aftercare can be
After attending a retreat, after attending a conference, like it's becoming a kind of very popular thing people are talking about now, that mental health has sort of like taken a forefront in so many people's lives that but yeah, I think it came from like the kink and BDSM community around caring for someone who was in a subspace,
yeah.
right? After they come out of their subspace, how do they
Find subspace for people, Mo.
I was about to ask.
gosh, I forgot. We're getting into the depths. Well, subspace is when and I'll try my best to describe it, is when a submissive engages in play with their dominant, and a lot of that play can be so intense, either physically, physiologically, emotionally, that the submissive feels these intense feelings. Like typically they're extremely euphoric, but they're so intense that afterwards there is a major crash, and that person can feel extremely vulnerable, sensitive, emotional. It's like everything, what goes up must come down. And so it's kind of like coming off of a pretty serious drug. And so aftercare is what the dominant person, who is the one that's inflicting the power dynamic, who is in charge of the power dynamic, whether that power be a physical power or an emotional power, it falls on the dominant's plate to be the one that sort of like provides this aftercare, to care for the submissive, in that time, in that space. And it can last from like an hour after the play party or the event to 48 hours to 72 hours to a week. So it's kind of like implementing a plan for how you plan to care for the sub, from drinking water to having phone check-ins to giving hugs to you know, providing a stuffed animal or you know, a safe space, like all of the things that you know, the sub deems would make them feel better in that period of time.
Yeah, and that's
So-
great. And that's where it came from as far as like BDSM and kink, but it has become a much more widely used word and or term. And I think it can be around everything. I mean, if somebody has a girls' night out or a boys' night out or a night out with friends or whatever, come in, there's just a check-in, like, hey, what's up? How was it? Do you need support? Were there how, you know, just a check-in basically is all it is.
Aftercare is so powerful because anytime we experience a transition, like I experience it when I travel somewhere and I come back home, right? And I always am like, assimilation is muy difícil when I get back. It's like so hard to assimilate back into culture, irregular culture.
Yeah, and no, I feel like even when you come home from visiting your parents, I feel like I want to do some aftercare. Like, hey, man, what was the trip like? What was it like? How are you doing?
Mhm.
So
You know,
check. We do it for friends that we know what's difficult for them.
Yeah.
It's just check-ins.
Yeah, I actually been I've implemented that in just my conversations with my clients about just transitioning, right? That aftercare for, like you said, that's a big one, right? Honestly, like coming back from trips, I don't think that people understand how hard it is to transition back to your life after coming off of a trip. It is like, and it can be so, you know, because you come back and now you back in your life, and now you feel a little irritable, you can feel a little down, you can feel sad. And if you're in a partner relationship, your partner can now get to be the recipient of some of those emotions and feelings because you didn't even know that you had them or don't know how to express them, you know, and just not even checking in with one another. So I think that is a big one.
Yeah, you're like a changed person afterwards, right? You go and have these experiences and then you're a changed person and you've got to go back to the normal state. And that's where aftercare is the most important. It's like
Yeah.
that transition period.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have a word in the list, Kelly, and it was about rupture, but you know, it made me think of aftercare too, where it says acknowledge. And I know for me, aftercare is as simple as that. It's like this acknowledgement of the experience. I mean, especially if we're talking about maybe, you know, two people engaging or something, or more people engaging. It's like acknowledging the experience that we just had together and anything that might have come out, you know, out from that, because that's I mean, surprisingly it's simple, but it's not something that often happens, especially like in the dating scene or whatnot. There's just kind of like you do the thing and you go on about your life, and yeah, there's not always a lot of acknowledgement. And I think the other thing that comes up for me, a good important element of aftercare is connection. It's just this way that we can keep the connection, you know, that we can feel the connection between us. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it really encourages that.
it's making the implicit explicit. Like this
Mhm.
is what is,
There
and
you
then
go.
you really have to keep in mind, was this a shared experience or was this not a shared experience? And how do you keep your partner or your person or your friend or your whoever up to date with where you are and what you're going through and who you are now? Like Mo said, you're a changed person. And so making it explicit, oh, this is what I've gone through and this is what I learned. And this is now, this is my new, this is the new lens that I'm using or the new way that I'm showing up.
Or
And
this is
I
how I'm
think,
feeling
So well
today.
said.
yeah.
So well said.
And I'm
Yeah,
thinking
and I love
about
that
it.
you said making the implicit explicit. I
Yeah.
literally was talking about that in supervision today, and I was like, yeah, our job is to address the elephant in the room. Like always address the elephant in the room. And that's kind of the same thing. It's like you just came back from a date with your partner and we're just going to try to act normal and cook dinner and like act, you know, as opposed to like let's have a system in place. Let's have a plan. Like,
Yes.
should we be talking about this? Do you want to talk about it? You know, do I
That
want to know?
that must be the theme this week, making the implicit explicit, because I swear that was the exact same topic also in one of my client sessions yesterday. Was talking about one person kind of being more implicit in the relationship and another kind of being more explicit and they were having a hard time, you know. So I really like that. I
Yeah,
really
and I actually was thinking about it, and I think even as a therapist, which I'm a little bit left of center, but even as a therapist, I feel like I do aftercare. We do our consult and then we have our first session, and I have on multiple occasions reached out to someone the next day and said, "Hey, are you having a vulnerability hangover? How are you doing?" And I'm now realizing, oh, that's aftercare. That's aftercare for me as a therapist, making sure somebody.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that.
That's
Yeah,
great
man,
that you do that,
I got
Billy.
yeah, I got to implement that. Yeah, I got to add that to the repertoire.
Yeah, and I'll literally say that. I'll say, "Hey, are you having a vulnerability hangover? How are you doing?" Because I think that term cracks me up. I think it's hysterical. But like maybe that's because I'm a drinker. I don't know. 'Cause I'm like, hey, you having a vulnerability hangover? Like, is it because it's a thing? Like you can wake up and like, oh my God, I shared so much and I've never said those things and what's gonna happen and what's going on. But yeah, like aftercare is the thing. And Mo, I haven't thought of it that way that it's because mental health is talked about now. It's because mental health is becoming destigmatized. You can say, yeah, that was probably hard. That was probably difficult because I think it used to be that you felt called out, you felt embarrassed if you had to admit that you were having a vulnerability hangover, that you were anxious about something. But it's like, no, so is that happening? If it is, let's talk about it. And I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a huge space that aftercare isn't talked about, which it could be, it actually should be, and we do, and we need it, is in the casual sex world. Because a lot of times when we having casual sex and you can walk away and having this feeling of lowness or whoa, no, woe is me, what did I do? I feel used and all those kind of things. And if we can just, really just start to think about, if I do have a casual experience, I would love to feel cared for in that experience as well. So maybe we can start to discuss that before the casual experiences that happen, and that's something we can ask for. And I think that could be just a change, a game changer for casual sex.
absolutely.
What is
Yeah.
that really specific? Oh, go ahead now.
I was just thinking about that. That's so profound because you can get aftercare from your friends, your family, but the aftercare that you received from the person that you had the actual encounter with is going to be more profound for you, right? I think more healing in terms of, being a container for emotions and whatnot. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. Because this is again something I've been talking with a client about recently. So it's crazy how that happens. Maybe we bring it to the table. I don't know. But Wayne, as you say that, how do you see that manifesting, or what do you see that looking like
Well,
in
for one,
casual sex?
Yeah. Well, for one, I feel like it can help in our discernment and who we have sex with, right? Because if someone isn't available to give that to me and I know that's what I need, then that's probably not somebody I should be having sex with. So that can kind of help you have more healthier sexual connections with people. I think that, again, yeah, that's just what came up for me when I thought about it. Like, man, in order to help people have healthier sexual experiences, they can ask for the things that they want. And if the person can't give it, then that gives them enough information right there. There's probably somebody who may not want to be engaging with sexually because they're not going to get that part met.
Yeah, I think I can add to that. I think taking the time, and this is something that I love to talk about in general, but taking the time to like check in with yourself, to reflect, you know what I mean, about all the things, about these questions like what are my boundaries, or what is it that I want to experience, what do I want to feel, what's okay. And this is very like more familiar, I guess, again, in the kink BDSM communities. And I mean, if you need to, there's so many worksheets out there, there's so many like PDFs and whatnot online that you can you can download for for some questions, from reflection prompts, to kind of like help you think about what is it that you want out of an experience, so that you can communicate that to the people that you're engaging with. And just, as Wayne said, let them know, is that something, are they available for maybe talking about their experience after the fact, sharing some feedback, or, just, yeah, talking about how it was for them or whatnot. I think also, I wish I would have bought this journal. I really wish I would have. I saw a journal one day, I'm sure I could find it online, in Barnes and Noble. And I thought it was just the cutest journal. and it was a journal specifically for dating, so your dating experiences, to reflect on your dating experiences. And it had a lot of like,
Nice.
again, journal prompts and reflection questions, so that you can
Love
like,
that.
yeah, have very intentional dating experiences.
Yeah, I've been saying that forever. I think our general dating pool, or general dating is so unethical, right? I mean, if they were,
Unethical non-monogamy.
it is unethical non-monogamy. I mean, if people just followed the rules of ethical non-monogamy in dating, because that's what dating is, it's a form of non-monogamy, then we wouldn't be having all of this like ghosting and like the games people play. All the games are because the rules are so skewed, right? People and then there's so much like stigma around being caring and having, there's like stigma around catching feelings, like it's literally called, oh no, you're catching feelings. Like what?
I know.
Yeah, we're human beings. We have
Yes.
feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just touched on so many things right there. And this is like a lot of times when I'm having clients and they come to me about non-monogamy, they come to me talking about creating boundaries and or opening up whatever. I honestly I refer a lot of them to the kink world so they can, because they really break things down in the kink world and BDSM world about boundaries and just asking for what you want and all these type of things. And I think this, oh my gosh, and again it goes back to non-monogamy is for everyone, right? Because you can learn a lot, you can take a lot of these principles and you can just apply them to any relationship. Doesn't even matter if it's a friendship, work, co-worker, or family, whoever, and it's just some amazing, great tools to have to give you the best experiences that you would like for yourself when interacting with anyone.
Everyone is non-monogamous. That should be your tagline, Wayne.
Everyone is non-monogamous.
Yes.
It's all about relationships. And look, I've always valued relationships over everything else in my life, right? But we're in relationship to everything. We're in relationship to our money, we're in relationship to our family, we're in relationship to our job, we're in relationship to our couch. Like we're in relationship to everything. And to understand where you sit in all of that and how to like keep that healthy is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what Wayne was just saying brought up for me.
Yeah. So what would an aftercare plan look like for a polyamorous couple or a consensually non-monogamous couple like Kelly's couple?
I mean, I think Kelly just broke it down earlier with sharing that list, pretty much. I mean, and that, that's just a very small, basic starting point, a great starting point that I think people can use. What was it? We're getting it now, but about aftercare, about how do we want to, our protocol for dealing with any type of ruptures that will come up. Yes, I emphasize the will.
Absolutely, right.
Let's
The only reason they won't come up is because they're not making the implicit explicit.
right,
Right.
exactly.
Right?
So we're avoiding it now. So yes, we just want to
Yes.
avoid the elephant in the
They're
room.
avoiding, then they're not going to come up.
Yep. And if we want to include, whether or not we want to include, or what that will look like, support for our paramours, ruptures around paramours. Is that what it's? Yes, I think I read that right. Jealousy or any other difficult emotions that might come up, and how we want to, any type of protocols that we have to, have the difficult conversations, to share the difficult feelings and whatnot. And then nurturing your relationship. If you have a primary relationship or relationship you're already in, or whatever relationship that is outside of the other ones that you're talking about, making sure that what's that?
Anchor.
Anchor. There you go.
Anchor
Anchor
partner.
partners. Hashtag anchor partner. If you, wanting to nurture the relationship that you're in as well, that particular relationship that you're in, including your sex life. So I think that's a really great starting point.
Well, so we kind of covered the first one, the aftercare with your partner. So let's just go down the list. The next one would be aftercare with your paramour.
Right? Before we get into that, I want to say this. I feel like maybe it was already said, but very explicitly saying it is that if you somehow can't receive aftercare with somebody that you engaged with, please, please, please don't hesitate to make that happen for yourself,
I love
with
that.
yourself, however you can. It feels great to be able to do that with the people that we're engaging with. And sometimes the hard reality is that it's not going to be possible or available, or they might not have the capacity or the skills for it. So please, 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 please don't hesitate to make sure that happens for yourself. And coming up with the plan, oh, really quick. I know I've done this with friends too, of like, sometimes you're like, there's this person that you probably, it's probably not the best decision that I'm making here. Like, I know there's been tension here or whatever the case, but gosh darn, the sex is good or whatever. I want to go do this. And it's like, cool, great, do it. That's a great conscious decision you're making. Also, let's come up with a plan. Like, let's come up with a care plan for the fact when you're done with that, so that who's available, you can come here, you can talk about it and whatnot. So yeah. Okay.
Now we're getting to support system. Yeah,
Yes.
our support system, our
I
village.
love
Yes.
that.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Support system so important.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. What was the next one?
Paramore.
Oh, so aftercare with Paramore, and this gets a little bit more sophisticated, right?
Paramore, or Metamore, we should talk
Oh,
about.
No.
Did we talk about Metamores in our?
Yes, we did, but we never talked about Paramore. So
Just
can we?
listening to this one, they
Okay.
need to know anyway. So define Paramore and Metamore right now.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Anyone.
a metamor would be like, if I was involved with Kelly and Kelly had another partner and I was not involved with that partner would be my metamor. And a paramour is just somebody that you're involved with.
And
Huh?
what was someone that I was, oh yeah, okay, you covered it all. Okay. So, but it becomes more sophisticated at this point, right? Because if you do have an anchor or a primary, and look, I'm coming at this with the lens that I saw my clients today, right? And they are a couple and they're together and they're primaries or anchors, and then they have their other partners. And so when they come back together, whatever aftercare they have set up with their paramours or their metamors that's going to affect the way that they're showing up at home, right? Whether they're distracted, whether they can connect, whether they can't. And so it becomes more complicated. Like you want to show up for that person, but you're physically with another person. So that one becomes much more sophisticated.
Yes, that is so true. And especially because, your partner who is at home who didn't go on a date can feel like you're not being present once you get home. Like, wow, you just spent time with this individual. Like, what about me now? Like I may need some aftercare being at home, because I've been here, waiting for you to get here, and now you're texting, that you just left the space, and now you're still in the space while, so many, yeah. So how do we care for in that case one another, right? Because you may need aftercare because you've just come back from a date and no telling how that went, and that may need aftercare because I'm at home waiting for you.
Everyone needs aftercare today. All
Yeah.
three of you need aftercare today.
That's why this is exactly why I had this conversation with them. And like it's very sophisticated. And like Melissa was saying, these were just opening lines. Like, you
Right.
gotta sleep on it. You gotta think about it. You gotta have some experiences. We gotta figure this out.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know if you guys follow Decolonizing Love on Instagram. She posted a meme today, or they posted a meme today, I guess, because it's a few people run that account. But they posted a meme that like some of your days as a polyamorous person is going to be taking care of one partner and then in the evening taking care of another partner. Like that literally was the post today. And that's what you guys are talking about, right? Like some days it's going to be all about what looks like aftercare, right? Like caring for one partner and then potentially caring for another partner and then asking one or both partners for care for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that yeah, no, I was going to ask a question, but that's a personal question that you can't answer because it's about your clients. So anyway, I think what could be also, this is kind of a side note, what could be helpful with all of that is just informing, like just being informing with everyone that's involved, to kind of let them know. Cause I know that's a mistake I used to make, was like just trying to, and I think that part of that is just part of my personality and like the way that I process or am in this world of very internalized. So I would forget to like say out loud, again, make explicit, inform Wayne or anyone else of like what I was doing. And so my attention then, would be in different places or whatnot, with good intention. But because I didn't let people in or share or kind of just inform them, give them a heads up, it made things a little bit more difficult than necessary. So I think that can be a simple piece, especially somebody like Mew's personality is like wanting to like, or just tends to manage, trying to manage all the things. Let people know what you're doing, inform them. And that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I think that takes away a lot of the pressure off of having to manage.
That's true.
Like now you don't have to
Yes.
worry about managing all these personalities and parts because you just express it to them and allow them to process.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're right. Because then sometimes it might be a situation where it was like, hey, look, I know what we usually do this aftercare with each other thing, but yeah, it sounds like your partner really needs some good. I'm good. Like
Yeah.
you go ahead. I actually got this time on my own. And so you never know, it can kind of open up other
Yeah.
opportunities that you just didn't think about,
Yeah, if you don't speak up, then other people have to assume, and then you're also, taking care of people's emotions, right? Right? Like that's
Mhm.
part of why you don't speak up, is like you're just not sure how they're going to respond, and they're going to like it or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Right.
people can hear what you're not saying. Like you have to say it. But at the end of the day, I think if you're ahead of all of these things, then you're fostering that safety and security, and um, then all these things that come up, is you can get through it because the safety and security is there. And so I feel like that's what all these things we've talked about. I feel like that's what it provides. It is fostering the safety and security. And so yeah, these things are going to come up, but you'll get through it.
Yeah. The more you talk about stuff too, the easier it becomes when the situation happens, and then you already have that sort of like pattern in place. Like we just talk about things, right? Like that's the pattern I think that everyone should sort of like lean into developing. Like your couple, that everything's going well right now. And so they're talking about it, right? They're talking about preparing for the future, which in and of itself is going to give them that tool of, we just talk about everything, right?
It was hard because I was trepidatious. It was like, it's going great. I don't want to poke the bear. I don't want to make problems where there aren't problems. And also, what are we going to do with our time? Let's go ahead and front load when those problems occur, because they will occur
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
So
But then also trusting that whatever comes up when it comes up, I mean, that it's there for a purpose. Like it came up. So great, let's do it. Even if it is poking around a little bit, So
but I mean, that I feel like part of the reason they come to us is because we do have experience and we do have knowledge. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to bring up some things that may not be comfortable. I'm not trying to burst your bubble. We just need
Yeah.
to talk about it. And they were more than happy to go there. It's like, oh my God, that's a great question. Oh my God, I haven't thought of that. And so we've just sort of front loaded a jumping off point. They may get there and realize what we agreed to isn't correct, but they've got an agreement. So there's that. There's at least that fundamental foundation of, okay, we have an agreement for if X, Y, or Z comes up.
I was waiting for you to go there, Kelly. I was waiting for you to go to front loading. I was waiting. It was coming. Yes,
That's one of my favorite
I
words.
love it. I love it. I love it.
Every time I say that word, I think of Kelly.
yes, me
Yeah.
too. That's just your word, Kelly. We all
I
think about
love
you.
it. I'm sorry. It works for me in the way I practice.
Yeah.
Kelly, do you have a any kind of way that you guide your clients into the actual like in the moment process of thinking about agreements, or coming up for agreements with each other? Like how do you for somebody who's never done it, how do you get started on that? Like practically actually.
Well, look, I'm just going to stick with today's session because that's fresh on my mind. I asked a few questions. They said they were good questions. I said, is this a good place to go? And they said, yes. And I was like, okay, hold on. I said, I feel like I just hijacked this session. Cause I always think my client sessions, choose your own adventure, right? I was like,
Mhm.
had I not just brought that topic up, where would we be going otherwise? And, they said, no, like, just like we told you when we scheduled, we have some exciting news to tell. But now that you're saying this, yeah, that seems correct. And so, this is all really new for them. And I said, yeah, this particular way of being in relationship is new, but relationship isn't at all. And so if we're going to talk about jealousy, what was it like for the two of you? And so we just sort of have to expand that. And we dealt with a lot of hypotheticals, which is I'm 50-50 on hypotheticals, but for this situation, that was correct. And so since I know them so well, and since I've walked with them through things, if they were sort of stumped, I was like, okay, well, let's take this situation. I feel like X emotion was present here. How would we deal with that? How did y'all deal with that? Now, how do we put that in the bigger context of what's going on now? And we just did really big picture, basic.
Mm.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Also, and I wanted to ask Wayne this, but you can pitch in too. I guess what I really wanted to know was any tips or guide for someone who's doing it on their own, like if they're not in session with a therapist that has lots of experience that can guide them in it, like how would somebody get started on this type of conversation? Do you have any thoughts, Wayne? I feel like you're really good at this too.
Kelly. Go ahead, Kelly.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I mean, I feel like we just gave them the 5 things to consider.
Okay.
They don't have to, they can consider those without talking to to another person.
Mhm. Great.
And agreements can change, right? With the caveat that, like, if something doesn't feel like it's working, you can always bring it up and say, hey, like, maybe we need to revisit this one.
I was about to say that we can always come back to the table to renegotiate agreements because
Yeah.
we change.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah. Emotions change. Yeah.
It's simply jumping off points. But no, Melissa, if someone was going to do it on their own, I think I would give them those 5 tenets, those 5 bullet points, those 5
Answer these questions. Yeah.
and see what
Think
comes
about
up.
it. Yeah. Awesome.
I love it. I love it.
Man, well, people, so I feel like this right now when I was listening to you talk, Kelly, and I just listened to the 3 of you speak, I think like, wow, people don't even understand what they're getting here. They're getting years of expertise first and foremost from 3 licensed therapists, and so they're getting therapy without having to go to therapy because they're understanding the process, how to process how therapy works, and to some extent, some of the conversations that have been brought up. And it's amazing. This is priceless, for people who actually find this and listen to it. I think it's amazing.
It's funny that you say that, Wayne, because I was, like, I think everything evolves as it happens. And like initially it was like, oh, we're starting this podcast and we're going to talk about consensual non-monogamy. And then last week, when I posted last week's one, I wrote 4 sexologists get vulnerable about their thoughts around, because we started the talk with Kelly talking about swingers. And so I was like, actually like that tagline that 4 sexologists get together and we talk about the nuances of relationships and our relationship to those things,
Mhm.
So that might be the new tagline
Love
for
it.
us.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is the truth. And I'm even that way as a therapist. Like I'm that way all the time. Like it's really hard for me to compartmentalize one part of myself so much that it's not just how things come out in conversation. And so, yeah, I think it's.
And I love that about you, Kelly, because from the day, this is a side note, everyone, from the day that I met you, I really admired that about you. I know as a kind of up and coming therapist and, sex therapist and whatnot, like and Mo too, absolutely, but you helped you were like, hey, listen, this is what it
This
is.
is who I am.
Yeah, this is who I am, and clients will appreciate it, if you can lean into it.
And
And
they're going to like it or they won't.
yes, exactly.
I always say they're going to like it, or they can like it or love it. Or
I
you'll
love it.
Yeah.
like it or
But
love
you also had that card that said, I'm not
I
your
know, I was just gonna
therapist.
say that. Yes, yes. I loved
Did
it.
you
So I
ever see that
appreciate
card? I'm not your
Yes.
therapist, and the tiny fine print at the bottom, but I could be.
Yes.
So with a side note, to add to Melissa, look, I know I've said this to you, the three of you before, but honestly, like this is, man, I'm getting so much knowledge and experience from just being around the three of you, and it just helped me work with my clients, and it helps me show up in the world differently. And I just appreciate the three of you for all the things that I've gained from the conversations that we had, from the supervision that we've had, from just being in the same space with you and listen to how you go about and deal with things. So I think that again, I don't when I talk about the three of you, when I talk to people, I talk about like, man, I know three really good therapists who are progressive, who think outside the box and are going to bring us just a totally different look and help you reframe a lot of the ways that you see things. This, I say, I promise you, it's going to be so helpful if you are open to it.
That's real
So
sweet, Wayne.
I really
Thanks,
had
Wayne.
FOMO last time after leaving early, so I have to go to see a client, but I don't want y'all to keep talking because
She's like, so stop talking, end it here.
All
Don't go
right.
anymore without
We're
me.
turning it off. 1, 2, 3.
I like that one.